What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Latin Explaining with Denise. My name is Denise Gonzalez for the people that do not know me. For the ones who do, guys, it's so good to be back here with y'all. I hope everyone is having a great Monday. I hope everyone that has tuned in has had a very productive day. I want to give a huge shout out to the people that are listening this live. Like I see that Union Zone, Johnny Mills, and Bulldog Face 2.0 already started the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe if you have not done so. And also share this video with friends, family, and everybody else. For the people that are catching the replay, thank you once again for letting Latin Explaining be one of your favorite YouTube shows out of the millions of content creators. And also, if you listen to my podcast formats, thank you guys for making Latin Explaining one of your favorite podcasts in all the platforms where you get your podcasts from. Now, before we start today's show, I want to wish everyone a happy Halloween. I'm aware that some people don't celebrate Halloween. I mean, I was brought up a Christian as well. So, of course, I did not celebrate Halloween for the most part. But now as an adult, I respect the ones that do. And I mean, do it for the candy, okay? Just do it for the candy. And if you have children, do it for them. Dress them up as something cool and just live it like that. Don't think about the nuances or nothing else, guys. So before I continue with today's show, I wanna make a quick reminder, because you guys know how these topics can get every time we try to discuss what's going on, especially in this side of the spectrum. I try, like I said on my before I go to that part, I wanna tell all the Latin explainers we have a community tab, folks. Now you can leave messages for me. You can do anything you want. I mean, not anything you want, but I mean, you can interact with me on the community tab that we have now. So make sure, if you have not visited our community tab, I want to thank all the Latin explainers for helping me achieve this milestone on YouTube. And now we have a community tab, so we can actively chat and talk about everything that we want to talk about on YouTube. But back to what I was saying, you guys know that this platform, mostly, for the most part, I would say 89%, it's always talking about my collective, the Latinos, and how we affect our lives and how we need to fix ourselves and do stuff for our betterment. Now, of course, there comes a time when we interact with other groups in America, especially the African American sector, and I have to address certain things. I know that many of you guys have listened to a few streams that I've had done with my fellow YouTuber, Radical Latino, in which we have discussed many issues regarding, Black and Brown unity. Okay. So a lot of stuff has transpired, and before I start talking about, talking about, give me 1 second, guys. So before I start talking about what I want to talk about today, I want to make a few statements that people tend to overlook. I'm not trying to come at people, at Black Americans. I think me and Radical have let that, very obvious. And there's always going to be slow folks, okay, that are going to understand that, just like there were slow taps, okay? And you guys, if you guys have, if you guys have followed me for a while, what I think about slow taps in my collective. There's always going to be someone that's not going to understand what we're talking about. They're always going to find nuances, whataboutisms, and stupid comments just to make their way, because they don't have an actual argument to counter what we're talking about. And apparently, it doesn't skip the African American sector. I feel bad for the ones that actually get it, which for the most part are the majority. We're talking about the Tariq Queeners, also known as the FBAs. And if you still don't get that, then there's nothing we can do to make you understand that that's what we're talking about. So if you're one of those that don't get that and get easily triggered, just keep scrolling, exit the stream right now. You're going to get offended, and we won't want you to get offended. Okay. So for the people that don't get that, please exit the conversation altogether. We're not going to change what we're saying. We're not going to walk away from it. And I want to also clarify to certain people that the reason why, because a lot of people have always like, oh, like, why you guys are talking about our issues and whatever. Two things I want to say. We live in a country where people are from all over the world. Okay. We live with one another. And at this point, we share the land. Okay. So we're going to encounter each other, and we're going to live around around each other. I'm sorry. So I feel comfortable when people address Latino issues. I don't have any problems with that. I don't see why African Americans cannot talk about us. I've never seen that. I think if somebody can give us an insight from the outside looking in, I am glad that they, have the guts to do that, because that will make us better. And that's just the way I think. If you are not comfortable also with people addressing your people, then again, exit this stream. This is not the space for you. This is a space for people that don't get easily triggered by things that don't matter. I see also that Ramon entered the chat and he says, oh, you're talking about the Nasheeds. Yes. Those are the ones that we're talking about. I love that name, Ramon, the Nasheeds, because I call them the Tariq Queeners. I call them the Tariq Queeners. It's so crazy, guys. So crazy. So now let's jump into our topic today. And again, our topic basically, it's going to revolve around the lack of action from the most offended. And I don't know if you guys have been aware of the war that's happening, the Twitter war, the mean tweets that people focus so much on. We saw it happen with Donald Trump. People got angry at him because of his mean tweets. Instead of what he did. And we're seeing it now with Latinos. We're seeing it with Africans. We're seeing it specifically with Nigerians. We're seeing Jamaicans and Haitians and whatnot. And the Tariq Queeners are no exception. Okay. And I support, I see that Ramon says they can talk about us all they want. It's not that there's a consequence. Exactly. Yeah. I don't care about what people say. Words have no actual translation in real life. You still get paid the same. Your life continues. It's those are non-tangibles. Now, one thing I would say is we've often seen how people have gotten very triggered when I ask a question, because everybody knows. It doesn't matter from which community you come from. Everybody knows what are the problems that the African American community has lived through in this country. Let's just put that out there for the first, before we start discussing this thing. Everybody, whether they accept it or not, knows exactly the African American history with America. Okay. Whether you agree with it or not, whether you're racist or not, whether you're pro-slavery or not, whether you are pro whatever, you know what went down. So African Americans at some point, after they fought for their emancipation and many other things like their civil rights and stuff, I see that Junine Son said, I found out from a Latino coworker that Donald Trump threw paper towels at Puerto Ricans. I was surprised. Look, I've addressed that before. I know people personally that was at the location, it wasn't like that. That was something that, um I'm not gonna address it now, but you can go to my Instagram and see what I'm talking about. Like everybody, it wasn't like he just threw toilet paper or paper towels at people like that. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump was the first president that actually visited PR after a hurricane in decades. You know, so again, let's just move past from the Donald Trump thing. Now, Black Americans have been promised right after that that they were going to get 40 acres and a mule in order for them to have a chance to make their way into the American socioeconomics. That promise was never met with real action. And that same debate is still being discussed today because till this day, they have not received what the country promised them. Now, mind you, African Americans have participated in every single war that this country has had to make the country the way it is. They're also part of the foundation of the American empire. And they were not asked to do that in a nice way. They were forced to do that. And for the most part, America at some point, uh, felt somewhat responsible of doing that for them, even though that was not even a lot. But at the time, it was still going to give them the opportunity to do something with that land. So, because that never happened, they're still demanding America to pay them the equivalent of 40 acres and a mule. Okay. So, because America refused to do that, there is talks for reparations. And a lot of people think that reparations is a payment for services rendered. Um, a lot of people believe that reparations is America's peace treaty and peace terms with African former the slaves of former African slaves, the descendants of those slaves. There's many ways to look at this. My assessment that I've always said, I'm pro reparations. I believe that African Americans deserve some kind of cushion so they can start their own lives. I don't have a problem paying more taxes for it. I mean, I'd rather pay taxes that go to actual American people rather than just to fund wars that we have nothing to do with. Okay, I'd rather fund reparations rather than to keep funding Pfizer. But that's just the way I feel. I mean, if you are moronic and you think that it's better to make Pfizer richer, then that's just the way you are, and I respect it. I respect that. So this group that Tariq Nasheed started, I've never been fond of Tariq Nasheed because I never like people that profit off of other people's pain. And thanks to social media and the internet, we have a lot of people that take people's real emotions and exploit them for profit. We've seen it in many spaces. Okay. Oh, thank you, MK. For those coming in, please listen to what's being said instead of getting at the first thing you hear. Just listen. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So you know what? I'm gonna leave it here so that people and I'm gonna pin it so that people that come in, that was a great comment. That was a great comment. Because sometimes people tend to get, offended by things that are like common sense. So basically, Tariq Nasheed forms this group in where he sells it as, I'm going to help advance the talks for reparations. Uh, you know we're going to do this. Let's empower Black Americans, so that we can get stuff done and we can, do things the right way. We can get our reparations. And at first, it started like a great thing to the point that there was people uh, that are not actually consider Black Americans, but they also follow Tariq Nasheed because they admire what he stood up for. Mind you, Tariq Nasheed has said many times that he's not the leader of this, when in reality, he was the one who came up with the concept. Now, the first point that I'm going to talk about is when people come with the, oh, I see that one already did, Foundling Iverson. I'm guessing that's not his name. He's like, we're not being factually correct. Tariq didn't start FBA. You can't start a lineage. I love that he said this because this is the first point that I hear a lot from the FBAs and the Tariq Queeners, and I want to actually go into, because you guys know that I don't like to talk without facts. We're gonna go into what he basically talks about. This is the FBA official website. This is not coming from my mouth. This is what they stand for. And it says, welcome to the Foundational Black Americans Cultural Site. It says FBA history. Foundational Black Americans are the descendants of the Black people who survived one of the greatest atrocities in recorded history, American slavery. FBA are the descendants of the Black people who built the United States from the scratch. But this history did not start in 1619. Now, until that point, he's telling you the truth. Black American history did not start in 1619. Yes, they survived one of the biggest atrocities in the world, because let's not forget the British Empire was one of the most brutal slavers in the world. If you don't believe me, go look it up, because I always say, don't take my word for it. Look up who was the worst empire, and it was the British folks. If you don't believe African Americans, go ask the Irish and the Scottish, and they'll let you know, because they also lived through it. So we'll continue. He says, the history of FBA started almost 100 years later. This is when it starts getting a little sketchy. And it says, the first documented foreign settlers in the New World of North America were the enslaved Black people who were brought over by the Spanish colonizer Lucas Vasquez de Ayllón in 1526. Shortly after the Ayllón and the 600 other Spaniards' arrival to the area that will later become the South Carolina-Georgia coast, the enslaved Black captives launched a successful revolt, forcing the few remaining Spanish enslavers to ultimately retreat from the area back towards the Caribbean. Now, this is when it starts getting weird. Okay. There was not such a thing. Okay. And I'm going to explain so that people can actually get this right. The Africans that came here to the Americas are only 4% of the African slaves that were brought here by the Spaniards. 96% were still in the Atlantic. Okay. So again, yes, there was people that was brought here that was 4%. But there was no such thing as a Spanish Empire obliteration by those African slaves. First, African slaves did not have the number. They did not have those numbers. Second of all, they did not have the power, because in the 1500s, the Spanish Empire was one of the strongest, most wealthy empires at that time. It wasn't until the 1700s and the 1800s that the Spanish Empire started misusing the wealth that they acquired from the New World, as usually they do, and then they became more crippled. So you see how there is a mixture on there's a mixture of truth with deceit, trying to tell African American people that they were free before. And another thing that I want to say, the African slavers in Florida were not only Spaniard folks, there were also African libertos that came with Spaniards. And again, don't take my word for it, look it up yourself. Libertos were known as Black African slavers that also enslaved African people. So, no, there was not a liberation on the South where African Americans, their history started. Because the majority of the people from the South that were African slaves at that point when Spain was here, first of all, inherited Spanish last names. That was the first thing. Spoke Spanish eventually. And they were not freed in the 1500s, not even in the 1600s. So that is a fallacy that this whole FBA narrative is starting to discredit. And it's kind of like there was a guy on Radical Stream that actually pointed out beautifully. It's kind of like a grifting from Mexican history, because it was the Mexicans that actually revolted against Spain and won. And after that, there was a Mexican American War, but we'll get there in a minute. So it says the liberated Black people amalgamated into the local Native American society, and this was a new historic chapter in what will ultimately become the culture of foundational Black Americans. Since 1526, the culture of foundational Black Americans has been that of building, resisting, perseverance, and fighting for justice. FBA are exceptional people, and we recognize and celebrate and give honor to that lineage. Now, once again, they keep saying they are a lineage, and I make no mistake, African Americans are a lineage. They're just not this crazy lineage that they want to take. And I'm not Mexican, but if I was, I would take huge disrespect to the fact that you're trying to grift from their history. The only group of people that's documented in history that took a hit at the Spanish Empire and won in times of oppression was the Mexican people. And that was in the 1800s. So you're 300s earlier. Spain is flourishing. As a matter of fact, there's more and more people coming into this land, finding more things, especially in the South. So you're also canceling the Mexican-American War that happened in the 1800s, because it was America, after it was established, that started fighting Spain for territory after Mexico crippled their military force. And that is documented history. So again, this is something that when people talk about these things, you gotta pick things and counter them with actual information. And I've said it many times, even for the slow tips that are a little slow in the back. One great way for people to understand where your history that's being manipulated by people that are more like hustlers and real history is that you purchase different books and you put them against each other. And one great book that you can buy from the Latino spectrum and cross it against this type of FBA narrative is Open Veins of Latin America by Mr. Galeano. Buy that book or download the PDF online if you're cheap, and read through it, because it will explain to you how Spain, actually operated, what they did, who participated in what. And then you were going to understand little by little what actually happened instead of just making up stuff that makes no sense. So I see that a lot of people, of course, are getting irritated by what I'm saying. So, like I said, if you guys don't like my content, right, because you're offended, because it irritates you, because you think that you're superior and I'm dumb and I don't know what I'm talking about, then instead of insulting me, and it's something that I would say to people, I've said it many times, instead of just insulting me, please put in the comment section what part of history should we look at where there's documentation that y'all kick out Spain in the 1500s. If we're wrong, put that link in the chat. Just put it in the chat and we will look at it live. And if I'm wrong and you have actual factual proof that comes from every spectrum that in 1526 Spain was crippled by African slaves in the south of America and pushed into the Caribbean, then I will accept defeat. But there's no proof of that. You get my point? So again, read the damn book, find and compare talking points, and find the truth. And this is the problem that we see on both spectrums. This is not new to me, because this is the same things that happened when we were talking to slow taps. Slow taps will come with crazy talking points about stuff that they thought they knew and they did not know. So again, it's easy to attack the person, but that happens only when you have no argument. And this is exactly, and I love that it's happening in the chat as we go, because this is exactly why I did this stream. So people can see that the Tariq Queeners and the FBA people that attack every person that disagrees with them are not attacking the talking points, are not saying, hey, no, you're wrong because this scholar in 1526 established that this happened. Hey, no, you're wrong because this colonel or this revolution leader actually was the leader of this uprising, and this is what happened. This is the documentation. Go look it up. It's always personal attacks. And the problem with personal attacks is that when you face people like myself, I'm immune to those because I value factual things. So you can say I'm not well studied and whatever, but again, help the world then understand what is your talking point, based on what? Based on Tariq Nasheed, based on the Foundational Black American website. What is it based on? Why said that was who told you that was your lineage? Which book, which scholar, how that revolution was called? Because I remember the revolts in PR by African slaves. One of them was Marcos Cioro. There's actually a book called El Cimarrón. There's actually also a play about it. And we know how that ended. So again, it's a lot of people that keep bringing up all these talking points that make no sense. But we're gonna keep moving forward. Okay, we're gonna keep moving forward based on what we wanted to talk about. On many of these comment sections, on many of these commentaries and all this, thank you, Bulldog Face. Thank you. I agree with you 100%. He says, I am Mexican and I am extremely disappointed in the lies from the FBA and fake Aboriginal wannabes. Exactly. That is exactly my point. And again, I have no dog in the fight because I am not Mexican. So again, it's always this whole um why can't we just admire people for shit they did? I love the fact that African Americans are still fighting for their rights and advancement. That's amazing and it's beautiful to witness. Why can't we just do that for other people? Ah, Radical Latino says, "Yo, I'm in the building. I'm late for the fighting and name calling. Yeah, right. You're not late. I don't know if you want to come up. You can let me know. I'll put the link in the chat just for Rad. I'm not letting anyone in. So again, let's move past the stupidity and go into uh what's happening today. Let's say uh, let's say FBA is a lineage and they're fighting for reparations and whatever. Um, well, there's this whole walk or protest or march uh, that's going to take place on November 5th, and we've all seen this whole how can I say it? This whole thing, this whole calling by Tariq Nasheed to do this march in DC for reparations. And a lot of people are buying that. And at the same time, since 2020, we've watched a notorious rapper, Mr. Jackson, also known as Ice Cube, talk about how he wants a contract, a political binding contract that promises economical, political, and social advance for Black Americans. And we saw how that brother was bulldozed by his own people because he had the quote unquote audacity to sit down with Donald Trump. Now, I posted on my Instagram I think like a week ago, all the FBAs calling him out and saying like, oh, like he's just, he didn't want it to he didn't want it to talk about this until Kanye got some light and blah 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 blah, and he's just doing this for money and whatever, and people keep talking crap about Ice Cube, and I see Ice Cube doing moves on the lines, so that his people can become more advanced. And one of the things that I've seen is that people will lay their necks out, will stick their necks out for defending Tariq Nasheed. And he will say, oh, I am not the leader of FBAs. He's not the leader of FBAs, just like Kim Kardashian is not the face for BBLs. So this group that has been formed based on lies, that the FBAs were this amount of free people that they were not, they became free later on. It keeps on building on to the point where it's self-sabotaging itself. I personally have asked this pro FBA Tariq Queener people, hey, what are the problems that are stopping Black Americans today for moving forward? I have personally asked this question several times on many streams referring to the FBAs. And what I have gotten is the same response that I get from slow tips when I ask them why Latinos keep being at the bottom. I got called a bitch, or I get talked about the victim mindset that represents both of our communities. We want to talk about the white man, about white supremacy. We want to talk about slavery, segregation, Jim Crow. We want to talk about the civil rights movement. And none of those things respond the actual question. Today in 2022, and I know this answer because I've researched this myself. What are the issues that are stopping Black Americans today from moving forward in their financial and social endeavors? And there are several issues that never go and get paid any attention. And I'm gonna share just a few of the things. That's why I love what the brother Ice Cube did, because he reunited. He sat down with some activists that actually do care, unlike Tariq, and he put down a few bullet points. I'm not going to touch on the whole contract. I'm just going to touch on the part that I believe is one of the most important one. And this guy actually has a plan. And he came up with this draft that he said himself, it can be corrected. It's something that can be discussed further on, and you can add more stuff to it. But this is the draft that they came up with. And I'm going to display it a little bit so you guys can read it with me. And it says, a contract with Black America addressing racial inequality. And it says, after 400 years of unequal treatment, Black Americans have had enough with gradual reform in a nation that prides itself as the world's greatest democracy. While well-intentioned solutions may have been tried, it is simply too much to ask and oppress people to stay patient. To finally create the more perfect union all Americans deserve, it is time for a complete paradigm shift in how we run our institutions and operate our country. While this contract with Black America may seem radical to some, the result will be a harmonious society that benefits everyone rather than the more radical alternative, which is watching the great American experiment come apart at the seams. I agree 100% with what the brother put out there. Enough is enough. It's been many years. Imagine the 40 acres and a mule are obsolete. It's been too long. So first, he says a system of reparations. And he's not just throwing the name reparations for him to sell you anything. Okay? He's actually putting in a plan on what he plans to do. And he says a commission required to determine how such reparations are to be distributed. Funds must be distributed to Black Americans within a year after the commission is established. So it's not just saying, oh, we're going to do a commission so that people can profit endlessly in that commission and it can be there for 60 years. No, after a year, it has to be disbursed to the people. The second, affirmative action for all secondary schools, colleges, and universities, public and private. Black enrollment must meet or exceed the percentage of Black population nationwide, which is 13.4%. In addition, the Black population in the county, the schools is located is greater than 13.4%, the enrollment must be increased to the higher percentage. However, 25% Black enrollment will satisfy the county requirement if the school can prove that they are a national school with less than 30% enrollment from the state the school is located. The same guidelines that apply to students will also apply to faculty. So you're not only opening the door for reparations, you also have this whole agenda for people to get properly educated, because it's very easy for folks that come with these classical excuses when we ask them questions to try to find a solution for them. And they don't even want to talk to you about it. Oh, I can't fix the problems of the Black community, but you're talking about the problems. There has to be some action behind what you say. If you don't like the way the law is done, why you didn't become a judge? And that is a question that when you ask people that, you get insulted because people are angry that way. If you don't like that black people are treated like crap in the healthcare system, and mind you, they are, why you didn't become a doctor? That's something that when you ask people that, they will make an excuse about it. Well, I couldn't become a doctor because I didn't have the money and whatever, whatever. Well, how do poor broke people become doctors today? How do they do that? Because they're not special. Look, this is what I'm talking about. Why become a doctor? Laughing emojis. Why let black people die? Falling Iverson. Why you want to let black men and black women get treated like crap in the healthcare system? It's just, I mean, it's a fair question. Why? Are black lives don't matter to black people? And it's a question that I would like to ask certain people. Do you really care? Do you really want change, or you want other people to make that change for you? That's something that I'm asking. Why? Why is it so hard for people to see the hypocrisy in their words? Oh, I'll tell you why. Because just like our title is Tariq Nasheed and the FBA laziness, these people are just lazy. FBAs are just lazy people. Not Black Americans, FBAs. No, Black people fooling Iverson. Black people, certain Black people that do care, they are becoming doctors. FBAs are not becoming doctors because FBAs are crying about their problems. Black Americans are out there trying to find solutions. People like Ice Cube and Cornel West, they're out there looking for solutions. FBAs are just helping Tariq Nasheed build his museum and purchasing his book. That's it. That's literally what it is. That's the problem. There's a reason why Ice Cube put the whole college situation in this whole agenda. He put them up there because there is an acknowledgement that not enough Black men and Black women in this country receive fair treatment when they go into Ivy Leagues and certain colleges. And that dictates the path for the community. But it's easier to question. It's easier to question whether Ice Cube intentions are genuine or if he's just a rapper and we shouldn't listen to him. That is easier to do than to actually say, hey, you know what? The brother is right. We need to send our boys and our girls to school for stuff that really matters. We need to start doing the change we can control, which is making more doctors, more judges, more lawyers. So again, instead of becoming another NBA player. Why we don't teach, or a rapper? How many rappers do you think? And I want people to answer this, because trust me, if you don't like this stream, you're definitely not gonna like what I'm coming with next week. How many rappers are made versus how many lawyers, judges, and doctors are made in the Black community? Have you guys asked yourselves that question? You're living one of the communities with the highest potential. It's making more rappers than judges, than doctors, than surgeons, and lawyers. And there is no excuse. You have every capacity to do that and more. So again, how many rappers are made versus how many doctors, judges? And I will answer that real quick for the people that are getting sensitive. There is judges in America. They exist. There's a lot of Black Americans that actually, and I have it right here. The demographics and the compositions of the U.S. Circuit and District Court says that 10% of the sitting judges in the lower federal courts are African American. 10%, not 13, so you're still not there. Right behind you is the lazy Latinos. And I've talked about Latino laziness to the extent that people already think I'm anti-Latino, simply because I'm telling them we gotta work. 7%. We're larger than African Americans, but only 7% of the sitting judges in the lower federal courts are Hispanic. But we want to cry and complain. Oh, there's nothing I can do to solve the problems of my people. Yeah, that is something that people say, because they don't, in reality, they just don't want to do anything. When people don't want to do anything, they create excuses. When people want to do something, they create solutions. We need more judges. We need more lawyers. We need more surgeons, more doctors. You don't like a problem, you got to crowd it. You don't like the way the police function, become a police officer. MK has talked about that plenty here. Plenty. And I'm not saying that because that's my husband, but he has spoken about that plenty. How about you become what you say you don't like and you do it better? That makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't to lazy folks. So again, where are the numbers? Where are the numbers for this? Thank you, SKC. Yeah, I'm enjoying it too, actually. And it's going. I always thought that there is not going to be needed, like a lot of conversation was not going to be needed from the Black spectrum. I always thought that Latinos were more combative when it came to this type of stuff, but I'm noticing that we're just equally as combative. You don't like what's happening? You don't like rappers being in charge of you? Then do something about it. Become something more powerful than a rapper. Or I don't like the way Obama was president. Then how about you become a politician? Well, there's nothing I can do about that. Well, and for the people that criticized, and that's another thing I would say, speak with your vote. Because if I remember, Ice Cube was telling folks, I just put this message out there, and I think I have the video around here. Let me see if I can find it. Ice Cube was saying to people, he had an interview with the Queens. And even though I'm not fond of this message, I want you guys to see that there's certain points when Ice Cube is talking about what his plans are. And make no mistake, Ice Cube never reached out to Donald Trump or Joe Biden's camp. They reached out to him. He just put the message out there. I'm going to play a little bit of this. It's fair use. I'm going to interrupt a little bit too to comment on it. But I just want you guys to listen to some of the stuff that the Queens were saying and Ice Cube was saying.
On Friday, and they asked you, hey, Q, what do you think about, when you see the Black man march, and how does that make you feel? And you said something that was really profound that stood out to me. You said, you know what? I wish that Black people and Black men could watch this over again and get back to this, because you said, even myself, we need to get back to this type of unity, this type of connecting. And so my thing is, let's say whoever get in office, it ain't gonna matter. The initiative is set, and then it's like nothing's happening, or something is happening, or whatever, it's there. Now what? Let's say they give us all the $500 billion that we asked for. Do you honestly think, and I'm not even trying to be funny or trying to catch nobody up or nothing, I'm just asking like a real question. With the state of how our community is already broken, how we already have PTSD, how we already are not connecting already interculturally, the infrastructure of African Americans in general is just jammed up, with or without money. Do you think, and what could be the process of, once we get this money, of implementing it properly into our communities and really being able to allocate it where it makes sense and matters, and what's going to be necessary for that to happen?
It's gonna go into an ad real quick. I'm just gonna put it in the back. But you guys saw the question. I'm gonna play his response in a second, so you guys can actually hear what Ice Cube has to say, because there's certain things. Hold on.
It was a day where we were gonna bury the hatchet with each other. It was the day when we were supposed to go back to our neighborhood kind of as new people and try to, make things better. And, it just didn't happen the way, we all envisioned it. But that don't mean we can't start. We do need financial help in our communities, but we also gotta make a commitment to ourselves to clean up ourselves. It do start with the person in the mirror. You can't deal with the white man out here until you deal with the white man in there. You see what I mean? So you have to clean up. We have to clean up ourselves. We've been poisoned by this society. We've been poisoned by trying to live like the people who've had us oppressed. And what they are attracted to, we're attracted to. We got to come out of that. We got to be our own people with our own flavor, our own style, our own morals, and we got to flip it. I'm not Mr. Holy. I'm guilty of it too. So it's something we all have to start doing to clean ourselves up. But I think the key is to try to get the money in the hands of people who are doing things, who are trying to be on the right side, the progressive people, the people who are, business owners, people who want to own homes, people who want to beautify their homes so it isn't, just gentrified, so it's things where we can get money into responsible people's hands, and hopefully they'll hire the community to teach the community. They'll use the community to to hopefully clean the community up. I also think the government has a job too. Why you use the armies just to come in and put guns on us and make sure we're not protesting? Why you don't use the armies to come fix fences and roofs and paint walls and do things to beautify the neighborhood? It's like they got to rethink how government works for the people, and they're not going to do it using the same old ways. You're going to have to push them. You're going to have to find pressure points, and you're going to have to use leverage when it's time.
I just got to make a quick statement, though, Q.
Go ahead.
If the administration that is in there right now
watch
done
this
for the past 3.5 years, what do you think is going to make them start in the next 4 years that they are given more during a pandemic? I know you got to take a break. Hold that thought, but I just got to ask that and make that statement, because you can't make them tell them all of that, and they've been there for 3.5 years. So
I ain't trying to make them do nothing. So
we need them to do something if we're going to trust them to do it.
Hold on, guys. We got to take a quick break. Okay. I definitely want to talk about that.
Now, I don't know if you guys saw exactly what Vivica was talking about when he was actually explaining what accountability really is and how accountability looks like. And that's something that as a whole society has lost. It's always somebody else's fault. It's like we are this unwilling victim that's not even participating in our own image trashing and our own community being destroy our own communities. But in reality, yes, we are willing participants in the destruction of self, because, and I explained that to Latinos in It's Time to Clean the Barrio. We can't get gentrified if the barrio looks great. Beverly Hills and Park Avenue doesn't get gentrified because people upkeep those places. So the first thing, one of the things that I hate the most is like, why you're throwing trash on the streets? If I could get $1 every time I see someone doing that, I would be filthy rich. You're throwing out full bags of food and stuff out the window everywhere you go, being nasty and disgusting, destroying your own neighborhood. Why you don't pick up the poop that your dog makes and leave the neighborhood smelling like crap and then complain about getting gentrified? So to a degree, I agree with what the brother is saying. We are responsible, partially responsible of what's going on. Government has some responsibility, but the majority of the responsibility is self. Notice how he said that the money will go to people that don't want to get gentrified and are responsible. He's not talking about everyone. He's talking about the responsible folks that actually do care, want to do the work. People that don't want to do the work should be left out to their own devices and for them to disappear. I believe that with all my heart. With all my heart. So we will continue to hear what happens. And I want you guys to pay close attention to Vivica's reaction with the whataboutisms, because she's talking about giving her vote to a person that crafted the mass incarceration bill, which is Joe Biden, instead of a person that just had 3.5 years and has come up with something. And I'll talk about it further a little bit later. Let me just continue what they're talking about. This, remember, this is fair use, but I gotta stop here and there with a little bit of commentary.
I definitely want to talk about, Q, you hit on some very, very good points about the military, but this current administration is using the military to enforce their own agenda, and we want to talk about that. So let's take a quick break. A lot of gems are being dropped here. We'll be back with more Cocktails with the Queens when we return after this break.
Now they're gonna go into a break, and I'm gonna exactly, Jose, fair use. Fair use. And I want one thing, guys, And I want to say this to my moderators: stupid comments. Let's just block people out. I want stupid comments. Block them out. Now let's continue to what's going on with the talk with
Not
Ice
done it in
Cube.
2.5 years. Why now is this massive push with 2 weeks before the election? I understand, Ice Cube, you've been working with this since June, July, but we're hearing about it now. So it looks really, I think a lot of Black folks, it looks very, yeah, like I feel like I don't, and I know this isn't your intention, but I feel like, you know how they use us all the damn time. You know what I mean?
I mean, both sides use celebrities, but check this out. The thing is this, I'm not here saying he gonna do anything, but he didn't make a promise to me. He made a campaign promise to the world. So he's on record for that. Now, we wanted Joe Biden on record. He has a plan, but I don't know if his plan really pinpoints Black people. So we want a plan that pinpoints Black people. We don't know if any of them gonna do it. But when you have a person on record as a campaign promise, you have more to go at him with, because he's told the world this is what he's going to do. And if he doesn't deliver, he looks bad to everybody. Now, why hasn't dude done it in 3 years? I don't know. Nobody's been pressing him. Everybody's been like, he's the boogeyman, run. And nobody's been pressing him on behalf of Black people, because we've been just waiting for Democrats to get back in.
I do not agree with you on that statement.
Watch
There's
this.
been a lot of people that have asked him, what about the wall? What about the kids in cages? I mean, there's
Now, this is something that when people, and that's something that I want. Hey, Rakim, welcome. And Kevin, I also didn't saw you guys. Nice to have you guys here. One thing I want to say is a lot of the FBA talking points when it comes to their agenda and their reparations and all the stuff that they usually use against Latinos is the fact that they often say, we have opened the door for many people to come in. We have opened the door for everyone to benefit, and we have gotten slapped for it. Ice Cube is talking about an agenda that he sat down to discuss with Donald Trump. What the hell, for the lack of not using the F word? What the hell? And I want people in the chat, preferably my Black American public. Why is it important to talk about what's affecting people beyond the wall and what's affecting people in ICE detention centers? Because that does not apply or translate to any benefit to Black Americans. Why Black Americans should care about immigration laws when they are American people? But this is the points that Vivica Fox is using to throw at Ice Cube. And before I continue with what I'm talking about, I want to show you guys Ice Cube actually sat down with Donald Trump. He brought that contract for Black America to the Donald Trump administration, and they revised it, took down a few things, put in another things, and they came out with what is known the Platinum Plan. And I want to show you guys what that is about. The Platinum Plan establishes a few things that is literally just exclusive for Black Americans. And this is what Ice Cube is trying to talk about. And Vivica keeps bringing up the wall and the children's in cages to condemn the orange man. And the Platinum Plan establishes, I'm going to go to the blue part because the top part is just general statements. And it says, President Trump's promise to Black America over 4 years. He's not talking about America like Joe Biden does. He said, increase access to capital in Black communities by almost $500 billion. And it says 3 million new jobs for the Black community, creating 500,000 new Black-owned businesses. Increase access to capital in Black communities by almost 500 billion. Safe urban neighborhoods with highest policing standards. Access to better education and job training opportunities. Commit to working on a Second Step Act. Give Black churches the ability to compete for federal resources for their community. Bring better and tailor health care to address historic disparities. To the young 15-year-old Iverson dude that was saying, why become doctors? This is why. Donald Trump campaign said it in Ice Cube, not me. Immigration policy that protects American jobs. Remember when guys were getting sensitive? Some of you guys were getting sensitive when I said that Barack Obama held the door. He might not have done everything you like him to do, but he held the door for immigration to not continue so you guys can get those jobs. And black unemployment went down from 17% during his term. This is what Donald Trump wanted to continue and become more ruthless about. And it says advance home ownership opportunities and enhance financial literacy in the Black community. And last but not least, onshoring manufacturing to advance jobs and develop opportunities for Black-owned businesses. Now, this is the plan that Vivica was criticizing, and she was basically talking about the kids in cages and the immigration law, stuff that did not apply to African Americans. And African Americans should not care about those things because it doesn't actually apply to their community. That's Latinos' job. So you guys want to see what Joe Biden promised Black folks? Let's play it. Let's play what he promised y'all. Let's see what he had to
when
say.
You come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't Black.
That's basically what he said. That's literally what he said. That was when Vivica is out here trying to shoe up Ice Cube sitting down with Donald Trump. That was the plan that Joe Biden offered Black people. You gotta vote for me because if not, you ain't Black. And people still voted for him. People still, and I can guarantee you that you're gonna see an overwhelming vote that's going to come from Black folks during 2024. Now, is there large groups that are actually waking up and saying no more? I want something from my vote? Yes, I've seen it. There's a large amount of Black folks that are saying, hell no, you're not going to use my race to actually empower yourself to be in politics. I want something for my vote. That's just what it is. Thank you, Ramon. Thank you so much, Ramon. This is what I keep talking about when folks don't listen to comprehend. Ramon is saying, Nicole, you're not listening. You're not getting that Denise is speaking in your favor. You get my point? And then she goes, and Latinos overwhelming voted for Biden also. Nicole, Latinos obviously were going to vote for Joe Biden because Latinos, it was convenient for Latinos to have more Latinos come to America and get the jobs that you and your folks can get for cheaper. Now, do you understand why it was reasonable for Latinos to vote for Joe Biden so that he wouldn't continue to build the wall? Thank you. Thank you. Now, let's continue. Because sometimes, I don't know, it's getting a little on the ridiculous side. Now, I want to share with you guys, because many of y'all might be asking yourselves where Ice Cube might have landed with his whole plan for his pledge for America, right? And he has landed in many good places. You know, I'm going to share with you guys, hold on one second, what has happened with Ice Cube's plan. And it says Forbes published this on June 30th of 2022 when he says Ice Cube lands 100 million NFL pledge for contract with America. So Ice Cube never stopped working with his contract for America. And it says the NFL is partnering up with the entertainer Ice Cube's PAC to aid Black-owned businesses and combat the growing wealth gap in America. It says the league said it committed over $100 million to causes that can assist contracts with Black America Institute, or CWBA, which is the contract with Black America, an initiative Cube launched with longtime media executive Jeff Quatinetz, whatever his name is, during the 2020 presidential campaign. It calls for the NFL to steer more businesses to Black companies in various sectors, including consumer services. Now, it says that many of those establishments that, he wanted to help, one of those was that the NFL is supposed to now also employ for their events a lot of Black owned businesses. They're supposed to fund certain things. And among those things, I wanted to highlight certain things that Ice Cube accomplished with the NFL support. And one of them is the project was launched with a fanfare of controversy after Jackson, which is Ice Cube, met with then President Donald Trump, who pledged at the time to support CWBA, which is the contract with Black America, which we just saw, which is the Platinum Plan. Jackson told Forbes that discussions with the league started last year, adding the NFL distributed funds to Black companies that include, and this is the part that I want people to understand. When I ask Black folks, especially the FBAs, not the whole group, FBAs that love to cry about 200-year-old problems. What are your today problems? Look at what Ice Cube came up with. The firms included will provide capital to Black businesses' growth. City First Broadway Bank, a Black-led bank with offices in California and Washington, D.C., and Chicago-based Aerial Investments. We're going to go to see these things. One of the things that I have seen that people often attack me when I ask them what are the problems for Black Americans today to move forward. One of the first things that Black Americans have issues with, which is a prevalent problem of 2022, is banking. Well, guess what? You have a bank. Black Americans have a bank. And in case people don't know, this is the leadership, the board of directors of the City First Broadway Federal Bank. It's led by Black people and is owned by Black people. This is what actually Ice Cube is doing versus the little marches and the little talks and the little museums that your leader of the Tariq Queeners is demanding. This is what's going on. Now, I want to ask the FBAs that love to cry. How many of you guys have opened an account with City First and Broadway Federal Bank? How many of you guys have opened an account and put your money, your savings into the Black-owned bank? Because you can be crying out here without having this done. Where are your dollars being put into the Black bank? You see how things start to dissipate? When you purchase your home, are you going to go with the City First and Broadway Federal Bank for that loan? Are you putting your investments and your 401k into the Black-owned bank? Are you doing business with the bank? Do you even know that this bank existed? It was very easy to find. It was very easy to find this bank. Now, when he talked about aerial investments, Many people complain that they don't know how to expand and invest their wealth. Aerial investments also led by African Americans. This is what also Ice Cube helped fund. Now, my question is, are you using Robinhood? Are you using different banks, or are you using your people's companies to enrich your community instead of the white sector that you want to complain about? That's my question. Now, another thing that Ice Cube's program with the NFL Help Fund was one of the areas that's one of the most controversial areas that people complain about, which is communications and image. Now, Cover Communications is also Black owned. So, and they have businesses even in the Latin spectrum. So, when people say we don't control media, we don't control our image, we can't do anything about it, are you supporting your people, or you're supporting the white spectrum? That's just that. Those are my thoughts. Where are your money? Where is your money being put into? I wish Latinos had all these things. I wish there was a Latino rapper. I wish Bad Bunny would wake up one day and say, hey, let's just help the Latinos and make all these things happen and make the MLB, which is majority a Latino league, put dollars into the Latino community. I wish you have that, but you're out here talking about Jim Crow. This is what I mean when I say I can't take people seriously when they don't even know what's affecting them. Because if you don't know what's your illness, how do you know what medicine to take? And that is a question that I have for people. How do you know what medicine you're supposed to take when you don't even know what's affecting you? When you are oblivious to this. Now, I want you to watch this short video with me real quick.
Americans alive at this moment who may experience the national equivalent of a perfect.
Give me 1 second, guys. Many folks love to call Thomas Sowell a sellout, that he's crazy, that he is a coon. You know, a lot of people love to talk about him, but he's been right on many things that he has said. I don't know if you guys have watched his reaction to the Black caucus not even caring about Black folks. Give me 1 second, guys. But a lot of people don't understand. And I'm going to make a comparison that I even talk about with MK a while ago. Well, not a while, like a few minutes ago, when I said Black Americans move like the House Targaryen in Game of Thrones. Such a powerful house that can only be destroyed by themselves. And that is what we're witnessing right now. The self-sabotage of the constant division with the whataboutisms and the complaints and the excuses of people that used to come from very high skills, high IQ, high EQ, very capable people in the past that were able to combat the American empire on their own soil and win. And now we're seeing them do these things to themselves, which is very, very, very sad. It's very, very, very sad. But when we say these things, we're wrong. And then meanwhile, people are talking about Donald Trump and criticizing Ice Cube about Black celebrities. I want people to tell me, then what is this? How is it that this man accomplished a millionaire donation?
Greetings, family. This is Tariq Nasheed. I am your community servant. Right now, I am in South Los Angeles on the world-famous Crenshaw Boulevard. And with your help, we want to build the first ever hidden history museum right here in the Leimert Park area of Los Angeles, which is the cultural epicenter of Black Los Angeles. Right here on Crenshaw Boulevard, right here, there's an empty lot for sale, and it's in the perfect location for our hidden history museum. We want to acquire this lot so that we can build your community museum. There's museums that touch on Black history, but they don't get too deep into it. This will be the first grassroots owned and controlled Black history museum in the world. In our museum, we want to touch on a lot of things that are not touched on in other museums. There's such vast history of Black people here in Los Angeles that we're going to touch on alone. For example, Pico, Pio Pico, who was the once governor of California. There's a street, Pico Boulevard, named after him. He had Black ancestry. Francisco Reyes, who was the first mayor of Los Angeles, he had Black ancestry. The grandmother of Los Angeles, Benny Mason, who was a former slave who became the wealthiest woman in California. We're going to talk about a lot of this stuff in the museum. Also in the museum, we're going to have 5 basic sections. We're going to have a master teacher section where we talk about the teachings of John Henry Clark, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Dr. Amos Wilson. We're going to have another section for Black inventors. We're going to talk about the Black people who invented things like the modern refrigeration system, the modern toilet system, the modern home security system, and so much more. We're also going to have a section talking about Black explorers. We're going to talk about people like Estevanico the Moor, who was very instrumental in discovering a lot of spaces here in the North American continent. Speaking of Moors, we're going to talk about the Black Moors who conquered Southern Europe. The Black Moors are never talked about in museums. This is going to be the first time it's talked about in our museum. We're also going to have a section talking about Black...
Now, you guys got a hint of basically what Tariq is talking about here. So basically, he's basically talking about a museum that's going to show. And for MK and Ramon, I get that Thomas Sowell is not what you guys are looking for. I'm just talking about what Thomas Sowell is talking about, referring it himself towards an issue that's real. I don't agree with a lot of stuff he says, but I do agree with a lot of things that he does say. And, you know, those two things can be right at the same time. Now, one thing I want you guys to understand is you guys can see how one person is trying to ask you for donations to open a museum. And I want to ask the chat, aside from putting out what Black folks have contributed to society, which is something that is necessary, don't get me wrong, what do you think is more important? A museum or the issues that Black folks face today? What is more important? What should be the priority? Why do we have a person asking for you to donate and finance a museum that's going to make him profits? Because he's not doing this for charity. He's not doing this for Black empowerment. Let's keep it real. He's doing this for profit, and you're paying for it. Last time I checked, isn't supposedly the Black community in a financial position where they're not supposed to be paying for this stuff. I'm keeping it real. I'm trying to keep it as real as I can. Now I'm gonna play a quick clip that I know Ramon and MK don't like because it's Tommaso, but I want you guys to hear exactly what he has to say when it comes to what your black politicians are doing.
Under the headline, "Choose Trump. He'd be easier to impeach." And you wrote cold, that voters faced a choice between, I'm quoting you, two out-of-control people, one of whom is going to be president. And you said since Hillary Clinton would be the first woman chief executive, she'd be very difficult to impeach, but Trump would be easier to kick out, so vote for Trump.
Wow. Let me say that just recently, Walter Williams sent me a video of Donald Trump in his mid-30s being interviewed.
Okay.
And so I've had to back off on one of the things I've said, which is that Trump is someone who has simply never grown up. He was very grown up in his mid-30s.
Speaking of retrogression.
And it's scary because how many people are more mature in their mid-30s than they are at age 70?
That's interesting.
In terms of the people he surrounded himself with, I think on the whole, they're a better bunch than either of the last two presidents had. So he has very good people. I think Jim Mattis at Secretary,
bad people too.
But other people are around him, and the question is he going to listen to them?
All right. Let me play you a brief excerpt
Watch this.
of Donald Trump himself. This is from the State of the Union address this past January.
This will be my first time to hear.
Something I'm very proud of. African American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever recorded.
Now, I want you guys to hear it from him. And I want to say that in this, Donald Trump is absolutely right. No, since the black unemployment started being recorded in the 70s, he actually is the first president to bring it under 7%. So let's just hear what he's saying.
That's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. Look at Democrats with their canopy clothes.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh my!
He produces a maybe the statistic isn't quite right either. Maybe
no, it is. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
And there you see a shot. You see Republicans standing and applauding, and there you see a shot of Democrats who are sitting on their hands, including many members of the Black Caucus.
Yes.
In Congress. What do you make of that?
That, as with so many other groups around the world, the leaders of groups that are lagging are often themselves one of the biggest handicaps of those groups.
Now, I don't know if you guys understand what basically Thomas is saying here. I don't know if you guys pay attention to the Black Caucus. Why would you not be happy that black unemployment reached an all-time low for the first time in 45 years? If that is not sketchy, I don't know what is. But hey, Donald Trump put Latino people in cages and build up the wall so that no more Latinos can come here. You see how people often keep shooting themselves in the foot when they start listening to CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and all, because let's not forget the Queen's Cocktails with the Queens is in Fox. It's on Fox. So guys, I could be here, talking about this for the longest, trying to explain to people how the hypocrisy of the Tariq Queeners and the FBA, it's easily debunked. And I could be going back and forth with folks about how you should drop the victim mindset and just start doing something. And if you don't want to do something, then we are not going to accept your 200-year-old talking points anymore. And that is the way I'm going to move from now on. Oh, Ramon answered to the question. It says, the issues are more important than Tariq's lifestyle. Yeah, that is something that people are still praising Tariq Nasheed for. See, he did open his museum. Do you guys know that he opened his business with your money? He literally opened his business with your money. And meanwhile, Latinos keep doing this. And we keep partying and stuff. You know, we're not that far behind. And FBAs keep doing this. I get it. You know, it doesn't stop from being the truth. It's time for people to stop being lazy when it comes to researching stuff. It's time for people to stop being lazy when it comes to reading what your current issues are and finding alternate solutions. Because I can guarantee you that the majority of people are here calling me everything but a child of God. None of them have investments with aerial investments. None of them are with Fearless trying to incorporate or do something with their technology. Nobody is actually reaching out to cover communications so that they can handle their media appearance and their marketing. And definitely you're not depositing your money into the Citibank, the city bank, the City First Bank, and the Broadway Federal Bank that's Black owned. Because at the end of the day, when you're required to work and do something and put your money where your mouth is, you don't want to do it because you're scared. You're scared. And you don't trust yourself. Because at the end of the day, as me and Radical have tried to prove out, this whole situation is just stems from self-hate. The real people that believe, the Black Americans that believe in Black empowerment are empowering themselves and are not afraid, and they exist. FBAs, they're just a group, a club of people that just want to enrich one man that doesn't even have the guts to call himself their leader, because he knows that when this group becomes debunked massively and the more it grows, he doesn't want to take the downfall. That's just what it is. And it's not Latinos' fault. It's not Haitians' fault. It's not Nigerians' fault. It's not Jamaicans' fault. It's your fault. Black folks are ahead of all of us. But for some odd reason, FBAs don't want to join the Black Americans that are actually putting in the work. And you must ask yourselves why. They're just not competent. They're incompetent people. And that is becoming a cancer in our society today. Incompetence has become the new normal, to the point that competent people are looked at as crazy, lunatic, slow, boring. Competence is not fun. You're not supposed to feel good about certain things. Working doesn't feel good. You know what feels good though? Accomplishing something. That feels good. But nothing that comes with good feelings in this world is going to take you far in life. And a lot of people want to feel good today. And that does not exclude the FBAs. They're just lazy people. It's easier to say that you contributed to the Black community by donating $20 to Tariq Nasheed's wealth rather than to say, I'm going to read the Platinum Plan and the contract with Black America, which is a lot of pages. It's easier to say that you're going to do that, because that way you can distance yourself from work. And that is the FBA nature: laziness, anger, and attacks. That's what they attack Ice Cube. That's what they attack even Kanye West and certain things that he said. I don't agree with everything Kanye said. I already discussed that here. But certain things that he said. That's what they attack. Certain things that radical Latino and me talk about when we talk about FBA. That's what they attack. Certain things that Candace Owens said. That is the truth. That's what they attack. Even Thomas Sowell, when he says certain things that are actually true, are factual. That is the truth. And you want to continue to just, oh, let's just dismiss this person because this person is not perfect. You ain't perfect either. You're probably just an idiot out here, just like every single one of us. Like I've said many times, I'm just a moron that's curious. There's nothing special about me. I've said this many times. I ain't special. That is the truth. That is just the truth. So I'm not going back and forth with folks with the shit they say and how they come up with this crazy ideas and this hatred for other groups when you gotta fix yourself. When you have every tool available to do something for yourself and you don't want to do it. You just don't want to do it. That's literally how it is. So again, what are your issues today? What is stopping you today? What is stopping you today? Why is it that every time that we come to these conclusions, it's always about, let's just talk and attack the person. Let's attack the person and let's just tell the person that they're full of shit, that they're an idiot, that they don't know anything. And just continue being lazy. Our mindset is set on that. Why is it always like that? And I'm gonna continue down this trend. And next week we're gonna talk about, because what I want for this season, continuing in this season, is to talk about how America works. Because I'm starting to think that because there is a poor mindset being spread around, and schools don't teach us enough about stuff, and people have lost their curiosity. People don't understand the country they live in, and they expect magical things to just drop from the sky like Powerpuff Girls, and that's not the way the world functions. We're going to talk about the structures of America, but we're going to talk about your role in it. And trust me, you have a role in it. I have a role in it. You're not innocent. Me neither. None of us are. You are fully capable of changing your circumstances. You don't do it because you're lazy and you're a coward. And that is just what it is. External things that are happening, yes, those will always exist. They will always exist. Why do you think there's still poor whites out here? If white supremacy was completely responsible, if white supremacy was completely responsible for our disdain, why is it that just the mere part of being white doesn't open door for poor whites? Easy, because you're always going to face those obstacles. And if you're not willing to take those obstacles, then tap out, jump off a bridge. If obstacles of living life the way it is, then just call it quits. Go to Walmart, buy a tent. I think they're now on special because the summer ended. Buy a tent and go live in a sidewalk and give up. And then don't be a public disturbance to the people that actually want to get stuff done. Stop complaining. I'm tired of people complaining. I swear to God, if I hear people complaining, at least on my platform, I am banning you from my platform. That's how I'm going to roll from now on. This is a benevolent dictatorship. No more complaints. I want solutions. If you come whining and crying about stuff that you didn't live through, if you come crying about how America is invading Latin American countries and there's nothing you can do about it, I've talked about this a lot. If you come with these talking points, you will be banned. I've kicked out many slow tips for that same mindset, talking about death to America and how they hate capitalism just because they don't know how to thrive in it. So again, if you don't like that type of talk, this is not a platform for you. But this is how we're going to roll from now on. And I am very tired. And I usually don't talk about Tariq Nasheed because I think that people eventually in 10 years, you're going to see where Tariq Nasheed is going to lead you. And you're going to see this whole FBA talking points turning into something else. You guys are using, and I'm not talking about Black Americans, I'm talking about the ones that do this. You're Moors, and you were foundational Black Americans, and you're Aboriginals, and you were the Jews, and you were the Semites, and you were the Asians, and you were the indigenous, and you were the originals, and you were the everything. And you were the Hebrew Israelites. Which one is it? Which one is it? You are who you are. Be proud of who you are. You don't want to erase who you are. Stop letting media and people that are trying to hustle money out of you define who the hell you are. You are who you are today. You're an American. Act as such. And another thing that I want to say that I'm very tired of, the same talking points I told slow taps. Stop comparing yourself to Latinos. I'm tired of people like, well, when Latinos are going to get this stuff done? Why do you want to worry about your competition? Why? Why? We just saw it with Vivica Fox talking about how Donald Trump was bad for Latinos. What do you care? That's our plight. If we're too lazy to fight for our people to not be in cages, guess what? That's our job. Why do you care? That makes no sense. America is a state where you come here to compete. And if you're going to be doing that and then crying about the competition coming to compete with you, then that doesn't make much sense. It doesn't. I don't want to hear no more whining. I hear more whining, banned. Banned. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And before I go, I must say, there is an elite group amongst Black Americans out there. Leave them alone. When you see this group of people that are just arguing for the sake of arguing, that make no freaking sense, that really doesn't want to do anything about their situation. They just want to hate and blame other people because they are low EQ, not IQ, EQ. They're low EQ. Walk away. Walk away. Leave them over there. Walk away. Whoever doesn't get what they're trying to do, and people that are gonna waste their time because of mean tweets, you mean to tell me that you're going to do stuff based on mean tweets? When you see this type of folks, you walk by them and you ignore the hell out of them, because that's the low quality mindset that we don't need. Same applies for the Latin splainers that you guys know already how I roll with our collective. You start talking mad crap about other people, other groups of people, you're going to get blocked. And make no mistake, I don't want people to, the slow tap sector, to revive themselves, because I've heard things. The word on the streets is that they're being revived. We're not doing a revival on stupid people. We're not doing a revival. At least I can talk for my platform. Anti-Latino-ness and anti-Blackness in my platform is an automatic block for life. I don't tolerate that crap. That's what mediocre, incompetent people use because they cannot prove anything else. That's literally what it is. Now, that does not mean that the world doesn't have those individuals. My thing is, why should you pay attention to those? That is the Vivica Fox mindset. But what about the wall? What about what he said? What about what he's thinking? What about this and what about that? Mean tweets. You're reacting to mean tweets. That's why Radical Latino and myself, we don't care about mean tweets. That's what we keep calling the FBA a hate group. We're tired of people that gives too many F's about mean tweets and call that oppression. A mean tweet talking crap about your collective is not oppression. Normalize that. A mean tweet talking crap about your collective is not oppression. Stop. Get some help. Get some help. And I get that I'm gonna get usually the crazy commentary out of this. Same thing applies to the Tariq Queeners, or like Ramon called them, the Nasheeds. Don't use my content. I do check who uses my content. I've already gotten several channels with copyright strikes from the slow tips. I will do the same thing with you. If you don't like what I said, keep scrolling. You know what? Press the thumbs down. It's still engagement, but make your voice heard that way. Aside from that, folks, like I said, I believe in Black empowerment, real Black prosperity. I believe in competence, and I believe in competition. And it's really sad what the American society has become. There's at least 7 factions within Black America. There's at least 10 factions in white America. And there's at least 4 factions within Latinos in America. And we still want to act as a collective. And trust me, I don't believe in these things. I believe you should be an individualistic person and take care of your family, because, again, this is living proof for the people that always keep telling me, oh, we should worry about the community. The community doesn't even have a proper direction. So which part, how can you move forward when people are trying to do a tug of war in different directions? In the meantime, you lose time, your family remains poor, and you die. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny is one of the first, the OG Latin explainers that knows what I'm talking about, because he's been here when I call out my own people. Your collective comes secondary. Worry about self. Build with yourself. Build for your family. Do stuff for you. What do you owe your community? You owe your community a competent, functioning family. That's what you owe your community. That's what you owe your community. That's literally what it is. So, guys, before I go, I don't know if Rod is still in the chat. I don't know if he wants to come up. You guys know I don't like to go over 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. And today we had so much to cover. So much to cover. And again, I could be talking more and more. Next Monday, we're going to talk about something that people don't want to talk about. And I'm going to talk about both our collectives, because I think if we really believe that we can build together, we have to talk about this as a whole. Because what I'm often seeing lately is that when you talk about one spectrum, the other side of the spectrum thinks that they don't have that issue. Like right now, even though they received a mental whooping for 16 months of how incompetent the Latino community has become in America, there's going to be Latinos that are going to believe that we're better than Black Americans, when that is factually untrue. And the same thing has happened with the FBAs. We're going to talk about our image next Monday. At the same time, 1:30 p.m. Monday, we're going to talk about our image. our responsibility in our image. I hear a lot of people talking mad crap about how we're stereotyped. We have these stereotypes on top of us and there's nothing we can do. And people out here doing this and the snowflakes raining. You know, there's going to be a rain of snowflakes next Monday. And next Monday, I'm going to open the call lines. One at a time, though. But I'm going to open the call lines. People are like, we're not, Donald Trump called us the R word. He called us criminals. Well, what is our image? Oh, Black people have been looked at as criminal and that they commit all these crimes. What is the image? We're going to discuss that next week. So if this stream got you mad, the next stream is going to make you lose your mind. But before I go, guys, like I said, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification. And again, I want to thank everyone that showed up today. For the people that actually got something out of this, let's put our dollars and our money into what our people that actually want to build something instead of crying want to do. Let's put our efforts behind them. Stuff is happening that is really good for the betterment of the people that want to build. The rest of the people that just want to cry and complain, let them be, ignore them, and let them breathe out. Hopefully they won't reproduce. Hopefully. And let's just keep the ball moving. In the meantime, you guys know how we roll out here, you know. You guys know literally how we roll out here. And I don't want to leave without saying that there's a lot of reactionary stuff that people have been saying, and don't let those people get to you. Trust me, for the people that are telling me like, oh, Denise, just ignore them. Trust me, I ignore them. I don't care. I used to be like, oh, trying to reason with folks and tell them, oh, you know, this is how it's supposed to be. Why do you think this way? Let's make this practice. Let's take these 2 months that are left of 2022 to practice self-restraint, because the educational phase has ended. And we need to show folks that we no longer care about their stupid opinions if they're not going to be backed with actions. We need to walk into 2023 with a mindset in which we're not going to continue to have this back and forth conversation. And I want to thank my hubby, MK, for teaching me that skill. It's very hard to acquire that skill, but he's a master at it. We need to start ignoring more and keep moving forward. Great things are coming our way. So I want to see, if you see comments that you don't like, if you see people doing stupid stuff in the comment section, just let them. Let them hate. Let them do what they do. Let them go like this. But guys, thank you once again for letting me, get into your homes and your devices. My name is Denise Gonzalez. This has been another episode of Latinsplaining. I will see you guys next Monday at 1:30. If you want to discuss our responsibility when it comes to our image, you don't want to miss Monday's stream. It's going to be amazing. I guarantee you. So next Monday, make sure you tune in, guys. Now, I'm going to say goodbye. If you have any comments, reactions, criticism, whatever you want to type in, remember, we have a community tab and we have a comment section. See you guys next Monday.